fan hats off. And when you're looking to Alabama, like if you're an opposing fan, or maybe there's something else that I didn't even mention. Like, is there a concern? Go ahead and vote on that. The options that I listed, I just put the secondary, considering like all these guys left from Alabama and that you only have one returner. Now we know, and we've talked about the depth chart before in the secondary, and we feel good about it. But is that one of, your concerns? Is it the offensive line? Just because like the guys are coming back, that like can they really compete at a high level? I really do. To be honest, I don't really have a problem with the offensive line. I believe maybe I've drank the offensive line Kool-Aid, but I feel good about it. But it's different when the Bulls start flying, right? Like come that game against Georgia, we'll be able to understand just how good the Alabama offensive line is. Is it the passing game? We always talk about that. There's a group of people that still don't believe, and they're going to learn soon enough. Or is it the new defensive overall? Completely overhauled the defense. New defensive coordinator, Coach Saban's out, Kevin Still's out. Those guys have over 100 years of football coaching experience, and you have a younger group taking over with a complete different scheme, 4-2-5. So I want to get your take on that inside the comment box. And right now, when we look at the poll, it looks like the secondary is the biggest concern. Okay, I appreciate it. Is it over the passing game? Yeah, I didn't vote on that. I guess if I had to vote, I'd say the secondary. Not to say that it's an overall big concern. I just, I don't know. Like these guys just have to gel. Plus, they're facing, the first couple games. All these quarterbacks are experienced. They're going to be tested, which I think will prep them for that second half of the season. All right, let's talk point number one. And by the way, if you want to get in on the phone lines and wait in line, you can 205-850-1994. That's the call-in line. I appreciate you guys being here right here on Bama Football on YouTube. So Alabama has its first scrimmage of this fall camp season on Saturday. Let me ask you inside the comment box, what are you looking forward to seeing or hearing from this first scrimmage on Saturday? For me, I think I want to, number one, most importantly, I think this even goes without saying, is like no injuries. Keep this team healthy. I think they've had, some small nicks here and there. It's football, but everything else has been pretty healthy. And, even last year, the team was really healthy. They even had some guys go out, but Henry, and with the super chat, man, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your continued support of the channel right here on Bama Football on YouTube. If you want to super chat, hit that $ icon. I appreciate it. It goes a long way. What I'm also, I want to see how this running game is utilized, because I think when we look to Kalen DeBoer's offense, we're like pass heavy. These guys are just going to air out the ball. How are you going to utilize, and what is going to be the distribution like with your three running backs, right? Jam Miller, Justice Haynes, Richard Young. Is it going to just be kind of a 1-2 punch? Is it going to be more of a featured back approach? Or is it going to be kind of a mix, a variety of these running backs based on down and distance situations? I think, considering the gauntlet of this year, the more reps you give to each of those backs and keep them fresh, the better. I can also see if a running back is hot, then you got to continue to feed him, right? There's nothing more dangerous than a running back from the University of Alabama that gets really hot, right? You got to keep feeding him. And look, Jam can be the featured guy. Justice can be the featured guy. If you want to rotate those guys and have a 1-2 punch. And I want to see kind of early signs of that. What is going to happen in the scrimmage? I want to see this defensive secondary, of course, in action. You have what's going to happen at the corner position. Are you going to have Xavier Brown? Even though he has a cast on at the one spot, you're going to continue to see some competition there with Jalen Mbakwe. Deshaun Jones. I think Deshaun Jones, now he's the guy who transferred from Wake Forest. How is he going to compete in this scrimmage, right? Going against some very talented wide receivers. That wide receiver room, we've talked about it plenty of times. But Deshaun Jones has been kind of quiet. Haven't really heard a lot of updates. It looks like he's repping with the 2s, maybe even with the 3s. But I think there's still position battles going on at that corner position. I also want to see the secondary. Okay, the special teams, right? How is the special teams going to perform? Lynn Shaneyfield was on the show a couple days ago talking about the fact that, Alabama's kicker, Grant Nicholson, who's in, was kicking, 58-yard field goals. How are they going to be able to perform? And James Burnap as well. And who's going to be returning punts? Who's going to be returning kicks for Alabama? I don't think, let me ask you, too, inside the comment box. Who do you think is going to be returning kicks and punts for Alabama this season? Would you like to see, I want the fastest guy on the team returning. Now, I think the fastest guy on the team is Jalen Milroe, but I want some guy with speed, with elusiveness to be returning the football. All right, who is going to be that guy? I don't think we've even seen reports who's going to be returning kicks and punts. Have we? Riley's saying Jeremy Bernard. Chris is saying K-Law. All right, let's take some calls before I get to my mailbag questions. We got a 865, and we'll take that right now. Hey, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who I'm on line with, and where are you calling in from?
Hey, you know who it is, Kyle. It's Cody from Knoxville.
Cody, what's up, man? I appreciate you. Thank you so much, man. Sorry to hear about you guys' running back there in Texas, C.J. Baxter. But I'm sure, there's plenty of depth. But anytime you have an early injury like that to a big-time player, it's not good for college football. It's not good for the team. Whatever, you move past it and you'll be better for it. But Coach Saban had a lot of positive things to say about C.J. Baxter. That was even during the NFL draft. So hopefully he gets on track, man. But welcome to the show, man. What you got for me?
Yeah, man, it's extremely deflating, and I like how you put that, Kyle. It's true. It's like I don't care who it is, what team you root for, whatever. If I hear of a marquee player going down, before the season starts, it's just kind of a deflating, fact that happens to a team. But it's one of those things where injuries happen, and one thing Sark said he was going to build in Austin would be that he wants to put, men on top of men on top of men, just back to back to back. He's got that depth chart that he has never had. So we're going to be okay, I think, but it is devastating, and it's going to be back to the drawing board in a lot of ways. But when it comes to Alabama, I said this earlier when I got into the chat today. I said Bama and Texas this year are honestly, other than just like the whole head coach, aspect of it, they really remind me of each other. Secondary is a little bit questionable. Offensive line, we think, will be solid. Quarterbacks are in there. I think both are veteran quarterbacks, so they're going to either take a huge step forward or it's just going to be, pretty disappointing. But I think both Milroe and Ewers are going to just lead their teams to really incredible seasons. As far as the scrimmage goes, Kyle, I'm looking forward to seeing what DeBoer. I know they're not going to have the full gamut, but I'm excited to see just traces of what DeBoer is going to do with Milroe, because I think it's going to be really exciting.
That's the other thing, too. I mean, when you look to Jalen Milroe's game, again, we're on the line with Cody calling in from Knoxville, a Texas fan, but also covers the Alabama Crimson Tide. I think when you look to Jalen Milroe, the thing about Jalen Milroe, and somebody could look this up, maybe I have Jarvis, he's one of my stat guys, or sometimes Jimmy Lee Baker will come on with some stats. I mean, Jalen Milroe has not been unleashed in terms of running the football. And again, I'm not saying that he's just designed to do that, but he can better than any other quarterback in America. I think you saw glimpses of a little bit of that against Georgia in the SEC title game, but that really hasn't been part of his game. Like, I don't think you refer to him and you're like, oh man, he's just going to run the ball. No, he's a pass first quarterback with an exceptional ability to run. And I think there will be a point in time during the season when he needs to use everything that he's got and nobody will be able to stop. I think that will be Alabama's, the most difficult thing for defensive coordinators to stop will be when Jalen Milroe starts to utilize his legs. He just hasn't done it. I mean, for everything that Quinn Ewers has, right? There's no comparison to what Jalen Milroe has when he takes off, right? Think about all of the quarterbacks. I mean, nice. Jackson Dart, he can move around a little bit. He's a good quarterback. If you look to Dylan Gabriel, he can move around for Oregon. He's a good quarterback, but nobody has the overall speed and acceleration that Jalen Milroe has at 230 pounds.
No, you're exactly right. And I think that if they're able to unlock that aspect of Jalen Milroe's, or just kind of, like you said, take the reins off. I mean, he's a quarter horse you don't want tied up to the stable. I mean, let that dude just do what he can do and watch what I think will be a really special year for Alabama offensively. By the way, Kyle, I just want to let you know, I'm about to get in the shower, so you did not catch me in the shower today. So,
all right, man. Well, you put it on podcast format, man. I appreciate you not calling from the shower. Not only it was just from a electrical standpoint, but everything else, man. Call whenever you want to, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we keep it real. But if you come up to Tennessee when the Vols and Bama play. I already told you this a long time ago, but I bought a bottle of Eagle Rare whiskey, and I told you, I got it ready for you if you make that trip to Knoxville. So you let me know.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for calling in, Cody.
Take care, Kyle.
All right, man. Cody about to get So fresh and so clean on this Friday. It is Feel Good Friday right here on Bama Football on YouTube. And we're feeling good about Patriot Life's $50 super chat. Patriot Life, one of our biggest fan funders, continues to support the product right here on Bama Football on YouTube. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate Cody calling in as well. We got an 865 and a 205 coming up next right here on Bama Football on YouTube. We got some NFL action last night. No Bryce Young in action last night, and that's not, to be a surprise. Look, I love this little graphic that comes up with the super chat with me kind of like, I don't even know how that happens, but I like it. All right, so far, when I'm asking you about the biggest preseason concern, and again, you can get on that inside the chat, 60% say the secondary, 31% say the defense overall. I think that's realistic. Nobody really has concerns about the offensive line or the passing game. Good to see it. Let me take some, I have some mailbag questions that I posted on the community tab. So if you go to our YouTube channel, you can see the videos, shorts, and then you can see the community tab. Sometimes I post photos in there. I post questions in there. Let me get to one of the community questions that was released yesterday. And this was coming in from Kirk 6728 on this beautiful Friday, August 9th. He's saying, Kyle, do you think there's a receiver that gets 1,000 yards this year for Alabama? Well, I think I asked this in one of our questions a couple days ago, and I think the easy answer is yes. I think it's going to be Jeremy Bernard. I think it's going to be Kendrick Law, one of those two, or Kobe Prentice. I think Alabama will have 2,000-yard wide receivers, and I think there's a handful of wide receivers that will certainly have a lot of yards this season for Alabama, based on the fact that I think Kalen DeBoer and Nick Sheridan, Jamarcus Shepard as the passing game coordinator as well, will be able to utilize a lot of the weapons that Alabama has. I mean, even an Emmanuel Henderson, he's not going to get left out. Ryan Williams, he's not going to get left out. I think even Caleb Odom gets his share of receptions as well this season. But I think the lion's share, you look at a guy like Jeremy Bernard, and sometimes, even though he hasn't had the hype, right, the notoriety, maybe the media attention this fall camp, rewind to what Jalen Milroe and Jeremy Bernard were able to do during A-Day. That was a very successful connection. What was it? Over 100 yards and almost a touchdown or something like that. I mean, Jeremy Bernard has it. And he returns with the most yardage out of any wide receivers on this roster. Jarvis, what's up, man? I see you inside the comment box. Thank you very much for being here. Byron, what's going on, man? You want another shutdown horns emoji? I could cook it up for sure. Let me ask you inside the comment box right now before I move to my next question. And hang tight, callers. I'll get to you in just a second. Which wide receiver for Alabama do you think will catch for 1,000 yards this season? There's going to be one of them for sure. I'm going to bring up Alabama's Alabama football stats 2023 just to remind myself of the yardage for the Alabama wide receivers last year with the quarterback still Jalen Milroe. As this page loads, I want you to answer the question, who do you think, which wide receiver will catch for 1,000 yards this season for Alabama? Most likely to. When you look at the statistics from last year, and, there wasn't a wide receiver that caught for 1,000 yards. It was Jermaine Burton, who caught for 798. It was Isaiah Bond for 668. It was Amari Niblack, who had 327. Kobe Prentice only had 314. Surprisingly, Jalen Hell, who's injured, he had more yards than Kendrick Law. What's amazing is the fact that Kendrick Law only had 135 yards receiving last year. And I think a lot of that is because of the fact that, wasn't utilized correctly. You can put that on Tommy Reese, in my opinion. We can go back and forth on that, but I just think that, going into this season with all the weapons that Alabama has, I wouldn't be surprised to see 2,000-yard wide receivers for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Let me take one more mailbag question, and then I'll go back to the phone lines. All right, this is Burton Burns. Who remembers Burton Burns? All right, type B inside the chat if you remember Burton Burns. All right, so Burton Burns is a longtime running back coach here at the University of Alabama, the OG. Like the OG of OGs. And I've spoken with him many times. I saw him at Publix the other day here in Tuscaloosa. Man, he's a man's man, right? He's from the Big Easy in New Orleans. Got a great personality about him. A really good coach. Super chill. You just love his aura, right? He's a man. The one time I was talking to him, he was just smoking a cigar, right? I love this question that came in. This is, again, in our community tab. I'll post the mailbag questions. You guys can answer questions, and I'll talk about them online on the show. This comes from Tate Tech. Love the username, by the way. Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube. I appreciate you guys being here. Take a minute and just hit that thumbs up. Super Chat's appreciated. And if you want to become a fan, funder, $2.99 to support the product. It goes a long way. Do you think Daniel Hill and Richard Young can bring that Alabama running back style back like when we had Coach Burton Burns? Okay, so I was thinking about this, and I like this question because what Richard Young and Daniel Hill share in common are their bigger style running backs, right? Made to kind of ground and pound. Now, Jace, he has some power, but he's shifty, he's elusive, he's fast. Jam Miller, he's got some power, and he's fast. Richard Young is 215 pounds. He can pack a punch. He has an explosive ability about him. Even Coach Kalen DeBoer said that. Now, Daniel Hill, who's a freshman at the University of Alabama, is 241 pounds. Okay, so these are the next running backs in line. I think Richard Young will get fed this year. But, in time, Daniel Hill is going to get his opportunity. He's out of Mississippi. Behind him is Kevin Riley. I was thinking about this. I mean, what style of running back? And again, kind of getting back to my question earlier about what I'm looking forward to spring this practice coming up on Saturday. How will the running backs be utilized? Let me ask you inside the comment box regarding Daniel Hill and Richard Young. Do you think that Alabama ever kind of, they'll have a pass type game with a power heavy running back attack? That could be very dangerous. I mean, look at the rings that Burton Burns has right on the screen. I think that Richard Young will be very dangerous, and I think that Daniel Hill, man, at 240 pounds, let's see what he can do. I don't know how many opportunities he'll get this year, but I thought this was a good question to chew on. I don't know. The game has changed so much. I feel that under Kalen DeBoer's offensive approach, it'll be more of the Justice Haynes type back. You look at who they're recruiting, like A.K. Deere. Did you guys see that he got his official letter and he tweeted it out on social media? Right? He put it out on social media. So, look, I think they want an all-purpose type back. Who's to say that these guys aren't all-purpose type backs? I don't know. But Daniel Hill and Richard Young got to be excited about these guys next in line for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Let's go back to the phone line, 865, and we'll take it right now. Hey, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Yeah, Angel here from Pigeon Forge again.
Angel, what's up, man? I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for joining the show. Welcome on in, man. Come with it.
Okay, yeah. First and foremost, yes, we have concerns on the defensive side, particularly the secondary. But that's going to be okay because we're going to figure it out and sort it out through the season, and then Kobe Prentice. And Kendrick Law, and then you have Jeremy Bernard. I really think Jeremy Bernard's going to be the top guy, and he's going to return like the balls and everything, because he's got that experience at Washington. Because I mean he's a really good player, and I really do believe that because he's pretty fast. Because I saw him at A Day or whatever, and he was like running people over, getting touchdowns in the end zone. I really think he's the perfect option for the secondary returns because, he's got that speed. And what you think about that, Jeremy Bernard as overall, he can play offense and do secondary. Or not secondary, but the
kick returning, kick returning, punt returning. Yeah. I'm with Angel Forge calling in from Pigeon Forge. Look, I think when you look to Jeremy Bernard, just as I said earlier, I think if there's a wide receiver that is going to catch for 1,000 yards, it's probably going to be him. There he is right there catching a pass from Jalen Milroe. Here's Ty Simpson right now hooking up with, a receiver right here, number 42. Somebody's got to provide that big play ability on the special teams. I think Alabama maybe lacked that maybe last year. So I want to see somebody that can, return a kick, return a punt. For a touchdown. I mean, you look to last year, I'm not sure what happened with Kool-Aid in terms of like returning punts, but you put in Caleb Downs and he returned a punt for a touchdown. So there's plenty of guys on this team that can have that extra gear, and you're going to need some big playmakers because you're going to change the momentum of the game. Not really worried about kicker, punter, but who's going to be the kick returner, punt returner? Maybe it will be Jeremy Bernard, and that's something that we will learn maybe or at least get a taste of during Saturday's scrimmage. But in terms of being an overall wide receiver that I think has veteran experience and catch the football, turn it upfield, Jeremy Bernard certainly one of them. What else you got, Angel?
Yeah, and also another thing too, because I really think this Kane Wommack defense is a great, fresh start for Alabama football. 'Cause what we saw him at Indiana, he took Ohio State to the limit, did pretty well in the Big Ten, and it was the COVID year and all that, but it was pretty fun watching that. And then South Alabama, it could be even better with all the talent here than South Alabama, because this is a top program, and I really think this defense can work out. But I also have one more thing before I go.
Yeah.
Are you going to watch the Carnage Stallions documentary about him playing Waldo and the coaches or whatever for cheating? And then Jim Harbaugh still denies it, which I really think he did know something about it. He just didn't want to say it. Because right now they got him for like a no-show clause or whatever, or no-show, whatever it is, yesterday. I'm not surprised. And then this whole scandal thing is just crazy. Deleting text messages and all that. I mean, they got caught red-handed, like in real time. Like, I'm not even kidding you. Like, they got caught red-handed in real time, and they still deny it. And Jim McElwain too. Like, he should have known that was Carnage Stallions playing Waldo. I mean, he should have known that, and he got an answer for that too as well. And it kind of is ridiculous, but it is what it is. But I want you to can you elaborate? Can you what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I on the line with Angel Collin from Pigeon Forge. I think when I look back at last season, I'm surprised that there wasn't bigger actions taken against Michigan, a team that ultimately won the national title, a game that Alabama had to play Michigan, and I think from a PR standpoint, Michigan suspending him for those 3 games, it's like everybody forgot about the accusations, and there wasn't enough time to really. Maybe that was the case. Why there wasn't enough time for them to, bring a real big case against Michigan. You're starting to see it kind of spill over. But man, and no one even talks about it this year, is like Michigan having an asterisk, by their name. I don't know. I haven't even had time to think about that. But I just thought it was interesting how nobody, talked about the sign stealings thereafter. And there was people that said sign stealing happens all the time. This Connor Stallion documentary will certainly be interesting to check out. Yeah, I'll check it out. And
it's on Netflix.
Yeah, when I watch it, when I have a little bit of time, maybe this weekend even, I'll check it out and I'll come back with my thoughts. Maybe I'll post something about it. But good call, Angel. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, man. Real talk.
All right, real talk to you. That's Angel calling in from Pigeon Forge. I appreciate the call. Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube. I appreciate you guys being here. 205-850-1994 is the number to call in. I appreciate it. Got a 205 and a 251 lined up right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Today we're talking the scrimmage preview. We're talking about the mailbag questions with Alabama's first 4 games, preseason concerns, and the running back room with includes Jan Miller, Justice Haynes, and, of course, Richard Young. I have a poll inside your biggest preseason concern. We'll talk about that in just a minute. I'll go back to the phone lines in just a second. Let me continue with the mailbag. Got this one as well. Hey, Kyle, this one's coming from Hunter Gerald. Can you talk about the second-string rotation guys on the D-line and the woof? Has Danny Lewis locked up the third-team tight end position? Added a little woof emoji right there, if you want to call it that. I think when you look to Alabama's defensive line, and for those of you out there that haven't had a chance to look at my depth chart breakdowns, I do a lot of breakdowns in terms of the depth chart, where things stand right at this point in time. I think with Alabama's defensive line, it's kind of broken up into 2 groups. The big, heavy guys that are 300 pounds plus. Think of your Tim Keenan, your Tim Smith, your James Smith, and then you have your bandit position, which is your Jamarian Lathan, your Keon Keeley. I think when you look to that second-team rotation, I think there's a lot of rotation. I mean, one guy that I just didn't mention was L.T. Overton. How is he going to fit in? I think the positive for Coach Freddie Roach is he has so many guys to choose from, and I think that was the case last year. Now, who can get after that quarterback from the bandit position? Could it be Jamarian Lathan? He looks pretty damn good right now, and I think Keon Keeley in time, he'll be ready to go. With the wolf position, you're absolutely loaded. Pictured right here is Q Robinson. So the wolf position is the edge rusher position, and there's, I don't know, 4 guys to really choose from. I could show that graphic, but I've showed it before. You got Q Robinson, you got Quay Russo, you got Keanu Coate, you got Yanzi Pierre. Each of those guys is capable to be the starter really at any place in college football. So I think that's a very solid position. And then regarding the tight end position, has Danny Lewis locked up the third team position? I think the starter is C.J. Dupree. And I think C.J. Dupree is a very balanced type tight end that's actually more athletic than you probably give him credit for. I'm starting to get on this, C.J. Dupree train. I don't. Last year was a little bit of concern, but man, he's pretty talented. Watching clips of him and seeing him, he's a veteran coming back that Alabama fans should certainly be excited about. Robbie Oots is also a first-team guy, but in different formations. And I think behind them you have Danny Lewis, and you also have Josh Cuevas. Don't forget about Josh Cuevas. He transferred here from Washington, understands the system, and I think he's similar to C.J. Dupree in terms of the athleticism. Danny Lewis, I've been waiting for Danny Lewis to do something. He did something in the spring game. And in spring, he had some very nice catches. So, look, 6'5", 260 pounds or whatever he is. It might just take time for Danny Lewis to get there. But I think if they need him, he'll be ready. But I like the tight end. Don't forget about Jay Lindsey as well. He's also a member of that Alabama tight end room. We go back to the phone lines, 205-850-1994. You're up next, 205. Let's do it. Hey, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with and where are you calling in from?
What's up, Kyle? This is Bama Greg calling from Birmingham.
Bama Greg, what's up, man? I appreciate you joining, man. Welcome into the show.
I got to call Jock a lot, so I got to start getting in and on your show more. But I'll tell you what. I think the offense is going to be dynamic. I think it's going to be like the Mac Jones type offense, and I think it's going to help out the defense being able to fill out who needs to play where, and really that will help our defense out a lot because that's just my opinion. I think Kendrick Law and Jeremy Bernard both have a chance to go over 1,000 yards with the way that Kevin DeBoer's offense is. I watched like 10 Washington games, and I know it's not against SEC defenses, but I'm gonna give a shout out to Coach Caviar. But he was showing how they have so many different reads and options that Jalen can go to, and then if any of them break down, then we've still got Jalen's legs. And I just think that this is going to be an offense that's equivalent to like maybe not the highest percentage as Mac Jones had, but as far as points scored and total offense gains, I think this is going to be like the Mac Jones year where, we just dominated on offense, and then the defense will come in and do its thing too. I don't really know a lot about the Kane Womack defense. I just haven't studied it like I have the offense. I need to really check it out. But I really think this is going to be a year that we totally impressed some people and shocked a lot of people. I definitely have us beating Georgia. If we lose one, it might be one of the late LSU or Tennessee game, one of those two. But I'm not even predicting that. I think it's going to be Alabama and Texas in the SEC championship game, and I think we get that first round bye in the playoffs. So that's just my opinion. But what do you think about that? And do you think Kendrick Law is going to be that second top tier receiver?
Yeah, I'm with Bama Greg, and thank you so much for calling in. Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube. Calling line is 205-850-1994. I think one of the things is with this offense is I really feel that Tommy Rees slowed this offense down. I don't feel he was ready for this stage, and I think even though Nick Sheridan, who was a tight ends coach last year, while he is the OC, Kalen DeBoer is like the OC. That's why people didn't really freak out when Ryan Grubb decided to go with the Seahawks, because it's Kalen DeBoer's overall offense. I think that Jalen Milroe is going to flourish in this type of offense. I really do. I think they're going to do a really good job unleashing him. And regarding the second wide receiver or another wide receiver that could emerge, yeah, I've been hyping up Kendrick Law, since last year. I think this year he'll have a really good year. But also, can't forget about Kobe Prentice. He's a guy who's, very talented. And if you look to last season, you start to watch like last season's game or you're bored or whatever, how many catches did he come up with that were really difficult? Kobe Prentice is an ultra talented wide receiver. So Alabama's wide receiver room, and then you have like Emmanuel Henderson, of course, Ryan Williams, who we're getting really excited about, Jaron Hamilton, Cole Adams. There's so many guys that can stand up and be targets for Jalen. And I'm certainly excited about it. And when you we're going to talk about next the first 4 games of Alabama and start to kind of dive into those. But yeah, I think that Kendrick Law is due for a really big year. I appreciate the call, Bama Greg. Please call again next time, man.
All right, I'll be calling you, man.
All right.
Have a good one.
All right,
Roll
you too.
Tide.
Yeah, roll tide to you, man. All right, we got a 251 next. Hang tight right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Starting to look at the first few games for Alabama. Before I get to that, I got one more mailbag question. This one comes in. I like this one. This one is from UK Reactions. Favorite play in the Nick Saban era, and name one player this upcoming season that you think will make a big impact that no one is talking about right now. Thanks for the great content. No, thank you very much for the question. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Let me ask you inside the comment box, if you can, in like a short sentence, what is your favorite play? And I love this. What was your favorite play under the Nick Saban era? Right? So quickly, and I do all the graphics from 8 to 9 before my show at 9. And these two came to mind. And I talk about, Najee and, of course, the game winner, right? 2nd and 26. So I'll start with Najee first. And I rewatched this play today. So what happened was, it was 2019. And Tua was the quarterback. They go to South Carolina. Alabama is up on South Carolina 17-10. And Najee Harris has had a phenomenal game. He went crazy in that game. So he comes up. He's in the backfield with Tua. He gets past the offensive line after the snap. And he basically does like a 5-yard out to the left. Comes out, catches it, turns around, and he literally puts one defender into the turf. You remember this? And then there's another defender coming up, and he hurdles him, right? This is the play. You see it. And then, he has one more guy to beat that he shakes off before he gets into the end zone. It was such a remarkable play. And you see what Najee's doing in the NFL. You saw what he did for Alabama. I think you remember the hurdle against Notre Dame. You know what? I know I don't have it, but another play that stands out to me is probably John Mechie when he hit after the interception, right? And he just that was probably one of the hardest hits I've ever seen. And that's coming from a wide receiver onto a defensive back. That guy was hurt, right? So I guess those plays are second. And then, of course, the 2nd and 26. I was at that game on the sidelines. That was my first year covering Alabama football, and to be on the sidelines for that game, it was stressful, right? Like, you're stressing because Alabama's down, and the magnitude of that game, clearly a national title, but for Nick Saban to have the Stones to come out with Tua at quarterback, like, think about that, a freshman at quarterback in that game, and for another freshman to catch that pass, and to think about the great career that Tua goes on to have here, and Smitty. Man, it was remarkable. That was like one of the greatest sports moments in history that I've ever seen. Go to the comment box. What was your guys' favorite play? Someone's saying Kenyon Drake's 95-yard touchdown run. Yeah, so a lot of people saying that. What about, what also stands out was Jalen Waddle when he returned the kick against Auburn. That was good, right? A lot of those plays, man, it just kind of stand out.